We go again! Hello everyone and welcome to the Adcast, a podcast for the study of modern visual culture. Once again, I'm your illustrious host, Soup. This week, AT stands for Athletic Tournament because we're going to be talking about the Overwatch League. You might have noticed that I wasn't here last time because I was dying, because I was graduating and doing my finals. And so Renu brought one of her friends to talk about something. Well, Renu can't make it this week, so I brought one of my friends on. So, what is the Overwatch League? You might be asking yourself. It is a big esports league in the style of traditional sports, but instead of running around with balls, they play Blizzard's team-based FPS game, Overwatch. One season is split into 4 stages, where teams face each other over the course of 7 to 8 months. There's a stage playoff at the end of each stage, save for stage 4, where the top 8 teams compete for a smaller but still considerable prize pool. Then at the end of stage 4, the top 12 teams face off in an elimination bracket to claim the title as the champions of the Overwatch League. And that's how it works. So it is basically regular sports except with video games because they have branding and local teams for your local locations, and they're looking into having, the local stadiums play the local games, which is pretty cool. They've been doing that much more with Season 2, and they are probably going to continue doing it. I think it's going to aim for, all that by, 2024 or something. Hello, everyone. Before we continue forward, I recorded this episode with my friend Monica because Renu was busy with her cons, but half of her audio is missing. So it is kind of unsalvageable, really, so we're just going to go forward with the episode. I'm recording this before I've actually edited the thing, so I don't know how far into it got cut. I think we just missed the, beginning parts with the introductions and the, what have we been up to, but we did cut a little into the actual content of the episode. We discussed our favorite teams and our favorite players, and I think it got cut off right around there when we were talking about Je-Hong, which sucks, but that's just how it is, and none of us really have a lot of time to re-record or try to fix it, so we're just gonna leave it for now, and we'll just come back to the topic sometime in the future. All right, thanks. On top of everyone already knowing about Je-Hong and knowing about his weird sense of fashion and the bizarre hair that he just every time he comes out, you're just like, all right, what's his haircut gonna be this time?
Yeah, I'm waiting for him to have that big poofy perm. I want it back.
My God,
I miss it so much.
God, yeah. But I mean, there is something legitimately compelling about Je-Hong as a person and as a player, right? Because they had a sort of a little mini story about him recently where they put together an interview with him and talked about how he got there to the Overwatch League. And I think all teams should do this. First of all, all teams should do this. As long as your player has even a remotely vaguely interesting story, which I'm sure they do at least a little bit, because you wanted to play video games professionally. There's there's something there. And for Je-Hong, it's very compelling because he's somebody who tried to make it big in another sport, in another esport, and it just never got very big. But he was still a pretty talented player, and he got, he went to military service, which is and this is a big thing in Korea where all the dudes have to go to military service at some point in their lives. And there are a lot of sort of very imperialist reasons why that's the case. America. But it does, I will say, make for some and obviously I think we should just sort of abolish the whole thing. personally. But the players who've already gone through it have kind of a more compelling narrative behind them. You know, Je-Hong is like, after I got out of the military, I could not play video games. I got dizzy playing them because I had not played video games in like 2 years. And he was like 23, 24 at the time, and he just went back to playing video games. And like, that's not an easy thing to do, to adjust to that level of discomfort, especially if you've been away for so long, and especially if you're getting older, because and this is like sort of, some studies are mixed about this, but they think that your sort of peak reaction time, at least in regard to video games, is probably when you're like 21-ish. So if you're older than that, then your time is ticking down. And so if you're a player who is existing in that age bracket, right, all the odds are kind of stacked against you. But here this fucking wild ass man is. He's like 26, 27. He's just out there playing the game still.
I want Je-Hong to be in the league until he decides he's had enough, which is to say I want him to be there forever. Because
yeah, exactly.
He's just such a staple of the Overwatch esports scene, and his story is such a is a thing that like almost everyone should know.
Yeah,
I love
sure.
him.
I mean, like, and to be honest, it is important to look at what he's done for the Overwatch scene, because a ton of players have come into the league idolizing this dude, and you know, sort of reservations about his meme usage aside, you know, Jonak is one of those players where I mean, God, I just please kids, don't be shitty. I know it's so easy at your age, but like, you know, a player seeing somebody like Je-Hong on stage and thinking to themselves like, I want to be like that, right? And really grinding it out and like feeling that in their heart, and then like fucking grinding it out, and then becoming a player that is widely regarded throughout the season as the best player, right? Like, that's an amazing narrative, and New York really capitalized on that. And I think that's a lot of the reason their social media has been such a success, because a lot of their players going through there, you know, have this production behind them, and people willing to say like, you know, we'll put your story on.
I like that a lot of the players in Overwatch League that are veterans can still play with people who are 18 and don't know how to drive or pay taxes. So I think that's neat.
They're just kids.
Can you imagine Super trying to do his taxes? I can't.
I like it because, hold on, I like that image though, because it's like if you took a beagle and then put glasses and a suit on the beagle and you gave him a pen and were like, all right, do your taxes, and it just goes
and then it eats the tax papers.
And then it eats tax forms because fucking it's a dog. What is it gonna do? Right?
You're asking a lot.
You're asking a lot of it. Yeah, I mean, like, I like this sort of, and we're only like, I say only, but 3 years is kind of a long time for a game to last nowadays, and for an esport to last and to only grow really is actually quite impressive.
Yeah, I mean, people will always compare Overwatch League to two of the most three of the most popular esports, which is Dota 2, League, Dota 2. And StarCraft. But like, Dota 2 and Dota in general has been around for like decades. So like to make a comparison of the two is kind of unfair. Same thing with League. Like, it's been around a lot longer, and I think for how young relatively Overwatch League is, it's doing really well.
It's doing really well, and there's a lot of it's actually, I will say it's interesting how generational Overwatch League has been so far. Like, it really feels like there's sort of a new generation of people coming into it, and they're still like, they have to contend with the people who are veterans, and the veterans have to contend with people who are obviously younger than them and possibly better than them, right? And this is a big concern, obviously from like a job standpoint, but I think that's the case in any sport, right? It's just that with esports, the window is a lot shorter, it's a lot smaller. But I'm glad to see that there's still a lot of older players playing like that. Yeah.
Kumat's 30, good. Dude. Or like he's about to be.
Kumat is like 30. Yeah, he's old.
He's
like,
still in
that
it.
That dude is old.
Kumat could actually be a father, like, and not just like a teen dad. He could actually have a kid who goes to elementary school, I think.
I bet Cool Matt knows how to do his taxes.
I bet Cool Matt does everybody's taxes on the Houston Outlaws. I don't doubt it. Well, maybe Jake does his own taxes, but...
Oh, God, I could easily see Jake doing his own taxes. I also love Jake. I love Jacob Overwatch with my heart.
Jacob Overwatch. One of the most...
He's such a good boy.
He's such a pinnacle professional and like the best image of a esport boy that you want to see in this league. He's in the same like tier of Custa in that they're just both really professional for their age.
Exactly. And like Jake doesn't even look like he's like old. He just looks like he's responsible. Like you would leave Jake the keys to your car.
Yeah, and then he'd bring it back.
Yeah, can you wash this for me? Oh yeah, sure. And then like you come back and the car is still there. You're like, wow,
what a good boy.
Wow.
Yeah, and Jake.
And he's cleaned it for you.
Yeah, and he has given it a nice pep talk, and he's very against the toxic masculinity that is around a lot of internet boys. So he's just
God, what a fucking godsend.
That one in the Instagram post of him like in like a tutu because he was in a dance lesson with some of the casters, I think, and people were commenting like men don't wear tutus, and he's just like broaden your horizons, bud. Some kind of witty Jacobian response, and he's a good boy.
Jake is just a good boy.
He's wholesome.
He's a good, wholesome American boy.
He's very American too. Yeah,
he's a very American boy. Like he was clearly raised in America, probably in California. I'm almost certain of it.
I don't think he's from California, maybe, but I do know
also from San Diego or something.
Maybe, but I do know he went to the same very small liberal arts college that one of my friends went to in Ohio. So there you go.
Raised in San Diego, California, Jake.
That's it. Jacob
Overwatch. Yeah. I don't know. Jake looks like somebody I would actually just see on a college campus.
Yeah.
Like learning how to be a person.
He would actually be one of those campus greeters that like helps freshmen like get around.
Yeah, like he's like a campus greeter. He becomes an RA. Like he's the cool dude.
He's a cool guy. And
he's a cool guy.
He's
like,
decided to do
him.
esports with his life. And I think him being in the league and being like one of the faces for the league has actually helped bring it closer to just regular people.
I think that's very true. Like he was on that one TV show, the one interview one.
Good Morning America, I think.
That one, I think. Uh-huh. And he carried himself very, very well. Like what a professional young man.
Good job, Jacob.
Good job, Jacob. Yeah. God, for every sort of high chaos gremlin player there, Jake really sort of works as the face of the league. And like, that's not to say that, you don't see glimpses of the fact that he's like still a growing human being. There's that very famous sort of clip of him like pounding the table when the camera just happened to be on him. I completely like, I love that a little bit. Like, obviously, like, there's some questions to be had about whether or not it is, fun for somebody to have their sort of volatile emotions broadcast to tens of thousands of people. But there is a very human element to it, and I think it makes people relate to him a lot more. And I think that it is important to consider that, these kids are obviously kids, but they're still professionals and they're still playing a sport, and it's very easy to get very emotionally invested in it and to want it so bad. You see it in that clip of Jake, you see it in the sort of parallel pictures of the season 2 stage finals that have gone on so far, where you have the one where Super just barely loses with the shock against the Titans, and then the second one where the Titans lose, and you have those shots of the main tanks, Super, and he's like tearing up, and you feel really bad for him, and then you see the one where Bumper clearly feels exactly in the same position, and hopefully as a reasonable human being you feel the same for Boy, even though he doesn't speak the language you speak. I know that's asking a lot of gamers, but it is important to me that a lot of these human aspects of these players, of these kids, are respected and maybe not put on blast necessarily, but like considered for sure.
I think that is one of the things that really, I think for me, makes Overwatch League feel like sports. It is its own thing. It is esports. It's a very distinct thing from traditional sports, but the emotion of competing and the fact that it's on display for everyone to see and it's broadcast just shows that, like, even though it's something that maybe some people might not understand, like competitive video gaming, what is that? It's just games. But people take this as seriously as they take any other competition. And for it to leak through your professionalism and for you to show frustration or joy or sadness on screen after a match or during a match is just another reason to feel connected to the esport, even if you might not even play Overwatch.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like last season too, we had that shot of Stryker crying, and that was like, that really strikes that chord, and it really just sort of sends home how important this is to these kids, because like this is their dream, right? Like, and this is the case with any sport, any sort of high competition like area, but you know, it really feels impactful, and you get to be there for that, right? And you get to be there for that journey. And that's the sports part that I, until this point, have never really had to interface with and have never really been invested in and have never really understood until I'm like, oh, I get it, right? And I think there are, like, it's a sliding scale of narrative, I would say. Like, you know, if hockey is just like, I don't know, at that sort of nothing end. I don't know if that's accurate.
I wouldn't say hockey's like sports narrative is lesser than others, because there are some really, really good stories in hockey. It's just some of the personalities can be hard to attach oneself to.
I would say that like wrestling is on the exact opposite end, like on the sort of like, you know. But I mean, to talk about wrestling, like I never really understood growing up why wrestling was like a thing, even though it's. You know, the meme sort of joke about it is like, oh, it's all scripted, who cares, right? Well, actually, if you watch it, you will care, because they script it, and I mean, they only script so much of it. Like, they do actually fight in there, and they like actually beat the crap out of each other, right? Like that's no joke. They have a lower life expectancies because of it.
Concussions, man.
Yeah, like
CTE, that kind of stuff.
That shit's serious, and like there's obviously ethical issues with the WWE, as there are with many sports leagues.
Yeah. You cannot script NFL, brain damage, but
you cannot script brain damage. But
it's there.
I think wrestling just makes explicit the sort of things that other sports are sort of relying on natural occurrences for. And I think, you know, it's one of those take it or leave it things. You might not like it, but you know, you kind of have to understand why people do, right? And I think Overwatch League. And this is the joke about Overwatch League, is that Overwatch League is an anime. And I maintain that is absolutely correct.
Monte Cristo would say otherwise, but...
Monte Cristo would say otherwise, but that's because Monte Cristo is an obstinate fop.
And he's also an anime villain, so it would, you know...
I mean, to be fair...
This is within his character.
He is the villain of Overwatch League.
As someone who isn't even a player.
He fills a sort of evil magistrate position. Like, he's like if Ben Shapiro was an Overwatch League caster.
Oh, no. Don't say that.
I'm just gonna let that hang there.
No, Monty's not that bad.
Are you sure? He hosts a podcast with Thorin.
Oh, okay, never mind. I forgot about Thorin, because I thought he stopped existing when I stopped thinking about him. Oh,
he has not stopped existing.
I thought we, like, canceled him. Like, I thought Thorin was, donezo. But
I guess not.
People still listen to him, I guess.
He should... Nobody who takes anything Alex Jones says seriously should ever be taken seriously. Like, that's not even questionable. There's no leeway about this.
I'm just really hurt that his name is Thorin. That's another affront to me personally, as a
Lord of the Rings fan.
As a Lord of the Rings fan, and specifically a Hobbit fan. The fact that he's sullied good Thorin Oakenshield's name with his weird rhetoric and bad takes just leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Bad. But anyway, like I think that I mean, some of this is obviously posturing. Like, I think a lot of it is just Monty acting like that because he knows it will get a rise out of people, and because
it's his character.
It's his character.
It's Monty.
He's a drama dude. Like, he exists for the drama and to create the drama, even if none existed before. And like, that's just, at some point you just kind of accept that that's what he's there for, right? And I mean, whatever. But I will say, Overwatch League is definitely an anime because the sort of things about sports anime that people like about sports anime, these exact same things exist in Overwatch League, and surely in other sports too. But in Overwatch League, you have very explicit sort of player character. I said character, like character arcs in the sort of concept of a character arc for players, right? Like you have, and there's a lot of them too. And this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time, is like the growth of players throughout the existence of professional Overwatch, right? Like I like that. I mean, let's just get this out of the way. Like, let's talk about Defran, right? The dude who was infamous for throwing, and that's a sort of debatable thing at this point in time, where, well, was he actually throwing? Because he was like the team, there's no way that they could have made it to the point, et cetera, et cetera. But he's known for that, right? For basically playing Torbjorn and just building his turret in spawn, something that is completely, obviously unhelpful, but, in a situation where the team has already written it off as a loss, like, you question if he's actually throwing, but at the same time, like, the fans don't know that.
Yeah, there's no way to know that. Yeah.
There's no way to know that. Yeah. And going from that to not only playing in the Overwatch League, despite flaking like 3 different times, and being like, and then on his first game, coming out as Torbjorn, the hero he threw on, and doing well. That's a complete character arc.
Yeah, and then flaming out in stage 2. Also part of the character out,
I mean, he's done so. He's done so. It sounded like he didn't even like really actually want to come back, but they were like, please come back, right? And so he played for a little bit. And obviously, like, you can talk about Defran as a person, as a human being, and you're just like, well, he's probably not like an amazing human being, but like, this is a dude who was like flipping burgers before he played Overwatch. And
burger flipper.
He was a burger flipper, and he has some issues with the rigorous schedule of sports. And that's, I think, a valid conversation to have. I think that sports is not an area where everyone can successfully thrive. I think that there's a lot of things that your team can do to support you, but the sort of rigorous nature of a competition like that is naturally going to burn some people out. And I think Defran is one of those people, but the fact that he still tried it, and just to make sure, and the fact that he basically redeemed himself. Like, this is such a good redemption arc. It's such a good through line.
Well, if we want to talk about arcs and narratives, I'd like to bring up something that is the complete opposite of this arc, which is to say going from a hero to a villain. And I'm going to talk about Fissure.
Okay, all right, that's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, who else would it be? Who else went from God-sent hero of a team to absolute hated, smug-faced villain to now, spoilers, retired?
Yeah. He's basically, he heel turned and then dipped.
Yeah, I think I've been thinking about this again ever since he announced he was going to be retiring, which was actually just maybe not even a whole day ago, a couple hours, a little more than that. But basically, he was on one of the team that won year 1 of Overwatch League, which is the London Spitfire. But he was a bench player. He wasn't getting any time because the starting 6 that they had just had a lot of synergy. So he wanted to move to a team where he could shine. So he moved to the LA Gladiators, where he basically did just that. He's a main tank, and the main tank is such an important role that he basically pulled the LA Gladiators kicking and screaming into contention. And then at the very apex of the LA Gladiators kind of like arc throughout year 1 of the Overwatch League, where they went from dumpster team to, oh, we made it to the stage 4 finals, or to stage 4 playoffs, he dipped. He just decided he didn't want to play anymore. And then he blamed the team for not speaking Korean enough, and for not listening to him enough, and for I don't know what he was going through his head, but he dipped and he refused to play in arguably the playoff
the
match,
most important game.
Yeah, the most important game, and the playoff match that he dragged them to. So after that, I think he asked for a trade or asked to be moved, and he got moved to where he wanted, basically, which was an all-Korean, somewhat successful speaking team where he could play, which is the Seoul Dynasty. But
who did need a main tank.
They did need a main tank. But now that the Seoul Dynasty is playing in year 2, they got also another main tank who perhaps wasn't as high drama as Fissure, and he had to share the limelight with someone, and I think maybe he didn't realize how good he had it in the Gladiators until he left. Because people really turned on him. Like the community just kind of went from the whole meme of Fissure, most handsome, best main tank. No one is more handsome than Fissure. Went from, this guy's a scummy dude who just dipped on his team when they needed him most. And I don't know. I don't think he survived that, I guess, because he retired.
Yeah. I mean, I think I get it, though. Like, I definitely feel it. I mean, obviously, as a narrative, right, it works pretty well. Like, the fucking hero of the Gladiators, most handsome main tank, best main tank, no one's more handsome than Fissure. I think everyone to some extent was waiting for that to come back a little bit, to see if he would sort of redeem himself. And he's just decided that, well, I mean, he's just kind of done with it. Like, he's gonna drop it, he's gonna try something else. And I think that's probably, like, for the best. Like, I think he knows better than any of us what is best for him. And obviously, if he's, causing problems, it's better that he's not dragging down the team. Yeah, complicated feelings about that one. I totally agree. Main tank players are in short supply, generally. Nobody wants to fucking play main tank, even in Overwatch.
They get burned out the fastest, I think. Main tank turnover is really, yeah.
It's also tough because it's so hard to play main tank at that level. Like, I think that there is a very clear distinction between, like, really good main tanks and okay main tanks. I think that it obviously depends on the meta, and it obviously depends on hero pools and how well you gel with your team. But generally speaking, there's times when players will shine, and some players just never really have gotten that opportunity. And obviously, part of that is because the only meta that has existed in all of Season 2 is Goats. And where you only play Reinhardt and Ball a little bit if you're running more DPS comps. Or
if you're Chengdu.
And Winston if you're bad, actually.
Winston if you're London and can't play Reinhardt?
I hate to say it, but it's true.
Oh, Gesture, bud.
Oh, Gesture, buddy. I mean, I will say, I think Gesture's going to be a lot more valuable in the sort of 2-2-2 luck meta because his Orisa is maybe the best in the league, like, no doubt. And his Winston is also pretty fucking good. But I feel like he's really known for his Orisa play.
Is he?
Actually.
I've always known Gesture for his monkey play, but there's just hasn't been enough Orisa
There's not a lot
in
of
Overwatch.
Orisa play.
Yeah.
But Gesture for sure, I think, is like one of the best Orisa players. Because I feel like main tank players don't really play, like, they don't main Orisa necessarily, where you can main Reinhardt or Monkey.
Yeah, she's something you pull out of your pocket for specific things, aka bunker comps.
Right. Except now the only meta in ranked is pretty much bunker, so everyone plays Orisa.
Thanks, Clockwork.
Thanks, Clockwork.
Thanks, Clockwork.
You ruined it for everybody. Oh my god. Now that 2-2-2 luck is coming in, we're just gonna see nothing but Clockwork Vendetta comp.
Is Clockwork Vendetta comp 2-2-2? I haven't thought about it. It's
Torb May, Ana Zen, Hog, Orisa.
Oh, that's delicious. I love that Overwatch League meta is dictated by Contenders meme teams. Everything about it.
Here's the thing though, is I actually wanted to talk about how important Contenders is and how little fanfare it gets from Blizzard, because Contenders is the only place where these fucking metas actually come from.
It's because they're a lot braver in Contenders to try something new.
Well, it's the risk is lower,
yeah,
right? Because the skill sort of how do I say this? The like skill ceiling is a little lower for Contenders players, and obviously that's not always the case. Where with a comp like Goats, the Vancouver Titans, formerly known as Runaway, dominated forever and then came to Overwatch League, and then dominated fucking forever. Which I'm not actually mad about, because I love Runaway, and their narrative is actually one of the best in Overwatch League. But
it's pre-Overwatch League now.
But yeah, I would say that Contenders exists and must continue to exist in order to foster healthy sort of organically grown meta. Mostly because, I mean, where do you think this weird Sombra Doomfist comp came from? Fucking Element Mystic is all over that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I like the idea of like Overwatch League being the premier, like, highest point possible that you could play Overwatch, but I also like that Overwatch League does have this Contenders space, which is like their minor leagues, but it's very different.
Exactly.
That this is one of the key differences between like minor leagues in traditional sports and minor leagues in Overwatch, where minor leagues in traditional sports are usually just, places to warm up your new baby rookies who are really good, and also play a bunch of, people who can't make the big leagues. It's just slightly less intensity and less, skilled.
Yeah.
Whereas in Overwatch, it is also less intensity and less skilled, but because of the nature of the game and the nature of the changing metas and the roster and whatever and what have you, all of these factors that you can't account for, Contenders is this very creative space where things like Clockwork, Vendetta, and 3-3 or Goats meta can prosper.
Yeah, it is. I think it is undoubtedly healthier for the game to for Blizzard to continue to support Contenders. And my God, please just make LAN Contenders a thing, okay?
I miss LAN Contenders.
Like, come on, please. Oh, Jesus. I beg of you. Anyway, the tier 2 scene of Overwatch is very important, and it's a thing that not a lot of people appreciate. Like, people who are very into Overwatch League a lot of times will be into Contenders as well, but it's also prohibitive to watch Contenders because Blizzard doesn't advertise it. It's at really weird hours. And obviously part of this is regional. Like, my God, I had to stay up until 3 a.m. to watch Fusion University play against Runaway.
Which, how was that game? I missed it.
It was... boy, it was a stressful game to watch.
Did it go map 5?
It went map 5, and Fusion University lost their first map 5 ever. And it was so close.
I really wanted to Snillo to win.
You could see the moments when it was, like, slipping away. And it was like, I accidentally woke up my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologized, and I said, well, I did tell you that I would want to scream in the middle of the night at least once, and you didn't listen to me. So, sorry, I guess. I'm here now.
I'm back home.
I'm back home. Welcome to me. Yeah, there is something very compelling about Fusion University as a team that, and I think, okay, I have some complicated feelings about it, because I think that on one hand, it is not healthy for your region to be so weak that you dominate forever and then leave for a stronger region. I don't think that's healthy for the scene, but also I want to support the Fusion University boys as they make their way as a mixed roster through Korean Contenders, which is like traditionally understood to be the strongest region of Overwatch, where of like tier 2 Overwatch, where you have a lot of players who are arguably Overwatch League level playing against each other, but at the same time, because the skill ceiling is a little lower, because the stakes are a little bit lower, the compositions are a little bit more mercurial. They're a little weirder, and I think that's very beneficial to the game, and I think it will continue to be.
Yeah, I love weird Overwatch, and I just want it to come back. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. I will say Runaway is a very, very unique case, even in Korean Contenders, or in Overwatch in general, because the Vancouver Titans, the currently only one loss in the regular season against the LA Valiant, Vancouver Titans are a team that is formerly known as Runaway. It was completely ported over. Like, they took all the players, and they had been a team that had been doing really well in Contenders for a really long time. And the team is basically like Cinderella. They have like almost no sponsors and almost no money, and it's a very sort of grassroots organization put together by a man named Runner. It is kind of amazing to see how far they've come. And a lot of people who only watch Overwatch League don't really get this, right? Because what they see in the Vancouver Titans is the villain, right? If you're watching an anime, they're the team that has like the most wins under the belt. Like if you're in like a basketball anime, they're like the top fucking dogs and they've been dominating forever. But then you get their backstory and they're literally like players that have been picked up by an organization that has almost nothing, that is basically a passion project by like one dude, and against all odds they've managed to do so well. And then they come to Overwatch League, the fucking pinnacle of professional Overwatch, and people like still they doubt them. You know, they say like, oh, I mean, Runaway is not Overwatch level. Right?
I hate
it's not
to say
Overwatch
it,
League
but
level. I hate to say it, but and they fucking dominated.
They dumpstered
Forever. And that's like, I don't know, that's awesome. And when you talk to these players about their team manager Flower Vin, and they talk about how much like she changed their lives and how much she means to them, like, oh my god, that's like everything, right?
Flower Vin works harder than God, honestly.
Literally harder than God.
She's incredible, and she and Runner, who are married by the way, worked really hard to basically raise their baby that is Runaway, and look at their baby now. And the babies
that are Team Runaway.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're these kids' surrogate parents almost. Like this big brother and big sister who found them a team house and taught them how to maybe feed themselves a little bit, not the whole way. And now they live in this big mansion in the Hollywood Hills. Like, can you? Like, I was watching the Titans house tour the other day with Harsha, and I think it was Bumper who were hosting it.
Oh my god, that house is massive.
Their house has an elevator. And
it has a theater.
Yeah, and this team is also full of members who joined Runaway because nobody else really wanted them. And Runaway didn't have any monies, but they offered them a spot in a house at least. So they said, yeah, sure, I'll take what I can get. And that just goes to show you that sometimes a lot of the good parts of Overwatch lie in the stories and the synergy between teams. Because you can be super mechanically gifted, but if you and your team don't know each other well enough and don't connect well enough and just don't mesh, it's not going to work. Like super teams, I think in Overwatch, aside from, I guess, the amalgamation that is London Spitfire, sometimes to talk about
I mean, yeah, okay.
that. But, you need to, it's a lot of, these are smaller teams of guys who play together, and I think Bumper was talking about it in an interview recently where he was saying, I can do all these wild things because I know that my team's going to be there to back me up. And that's what's missing from a lot of, the more mid-tier teams, where they have to stick to what their coaches say and what, they think is the right thing to do, versus trusting that even if you do the wrong thing, you have people to back you up.
Yeah, I will say, watching Bumper play, it seems like he has no fear. Because he probably doesn't, because he's convinced that his team will back him up, which is like more trust than I think anyone could ever reasonably have in another human being. Like, generally speaking, not even in Overwatch.
Yeah, he knows Slime is coming to speed boost him out when he messes up his charge from like trying to flank from the sky. Like, he knows he's got backup.
And to be fair, I think that a lot, like, you're right that a lot of the success of these teams does lie in something beyond just mechanical skill, and like the team aspect of it comes from the fact that these teams like each other as people, I'm pretty sure, right? Like, I think Super is the exact opposite of Bumper, where he begrudgingly accepts that his team is there for him, and he always looks like he's going through hell, whereas Bumper looks like he's always having the time of his life. It's the real sort of duality of main tanking. I like, if you look at a team that was dominant last year, you see the exact same thing. The New York Excelsior, who were widely regarded as one of the best teams, and they're still one of the best teams, by the way. They haven't really gone anywhere. They're still like at least number 3, and their map differential is like way crazy. So it's like, the top 3 teams and then everyone else. The thing that made them so good was the fact that they all seemed to really get on with each other, and they'd have all been like, most of them had been teammates for a very long time as well. Yeah, and okay, like not to get too like into the sort of capitalism thing again, but there is a lot of invisible labor that goes into making sure these teams can function, and I think that certain teams are better about highlighting that than others. Like Philadelphia Fusion specifically with Chef Heidi.
Chef Heidi, which is basically just a lady in a Moira cosplay. Let's be real.
She's just like if Moira was like not evil and also cooked food for a bunch of boys that play video games.
Yeah,
like she's just like, I'm concerned about your nutrition, and it's like that's also really fucking important. And like a flower vin period. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I remember some of the horror stories from season 1 when I think it was Shanghai didn't even have personal computers at home, so you couldn't you couldn't practice at home, and you couldn't be even close to the same level as everybody else. And I've seen some posts about how some people had to share beds, or it was. I think that's one of the things that needs to be ironed out in the Overwatch League, as like professional as it is right now, is that there's just some basic things that they need to get, formatted as federal law for the entire league, which is to say, basic living conditions need to be met.
I think that's probably ironed out a lot more in season 2. It seems like all of them have like places to sleep.
A house with a roof over their heads.
I mean, to be fair, sometimes some of the social media teams are so quiet that you wouldn't ever know it. Like, where does Kib go to sleep at night? I don't know.
Where does Kib sleep? Does Kib
For
have
all
a house?
I know, he sleeps under the desks. Poor Kib. Give Kib a bed.
And Kib's not the one sleeping under the desks. We know that's Poco. That's Poco.
Poco's doing it, but not because he doesn't have a bed at home.
He's doing it to bother Neptuno.
Yeah. That's true. Just he's doing. I'll complete a little side point. It is a new fun thing for me to explore the daily happenings of the Fusion University crew.
Oh no,
they're so weird.
I mean,
like Elk seems like kind of a normal person.
Yeah,
and then you have Snillo, who is like weird in the European way.
In the very specifically Swedish way.
Very specifically, he's very Swedish.
Yeah.
And then you have Changshik and Alarm, who are clearly very Korean, but they also are very weird, and they they get on really well with Snillo in a weird way. Like, there was a tweet where Elk was like, so I was overhearing the other guys on the team talking, and it was just Alarm asking Snillo if he knew that he had ordered an entire chicken. He's like, oh, I didn't want a whole chicken. And he's like, well, you can cancel it. He's like, no, I'll eat the whole chicken.
It's more work to cancel it than it is to just eat the entire chicken when it arrives, huh?
And then they ate the chicken and they got food poisoning.
Oh, no.
And they had to play the next game with food poisoning.
Was that why? Was it the whole chicken? I thought they were two separate incidents, but the chicken caused the incident.
It's the same incident.
They won, didn't they?
Yeah, they won that game.
They won that game.
That's because Alarm is monstrous.
Oh no, poor Elk. Sometimes I feel bad for Elk because he's just this normal dude surrounded by these cryptids, which seems to be the theme of,
most Philadelphia teams, period, I think, actually.
Yeah, they just breed him differently out there,
Just breed him differently out there. Yeah, I don't know. Who would you classify as the normal person on the Fusion, though? Like the Fusion proper, like
the regular roster?
EQO?
EQO, probably.
Okay, EQO seems like a person, I guess. Yeah, I could see that.
It's either...
And then,
I think Boombox maybe, but sometimes Boombox... Boombox is also one of those super veteran players that, you don't know how he's still here, but he's still good.
He is.
And, every now and again...
If I was Boombox, I'd be fearing for my life right now.
Right. Who's coming in?
Seeing how Alarm is playing, I would be terrified.
Boombox.
Imagine looking at this menace of a Zenyatta player just, fucking go, rumbling, and you're like, he's coming, he's on my heels. Because there's no way that he's not just gonna immediately be upgraded as soon as possible.
I feel bad for Boombox, but I think Alarm would be a upgrade, definitely.
I don't think he would be a huge upgrade, but he would be an upgrade.
He's an upgrade on basically most teams that aren't named
like
NYXL in Vancouver.
To be fair, like, I completely agree that he would be an upgrade over almost every other Zenyatta in the league, aside from like the top 3. So, you know, he's just like that. Anyway, that aside, there is one more player I would like to highlight, just real quick, and it's Dogman.
Oh, Dogman.
I love Dogman so much.
Oh, dude, Dogman broke up with his girlfriend.
I know, I saw. That's rough, but you know, it seems like that was mutual, I guess. So, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna get into the personal happenings of a person and his sort of emotional dealings. I just like that Dogman exists in the Overwatch League,
and that he is the way he is.
First of all, Dogman is very weird. Second of all, Dogman is a very good Zenyatta player. Third of all, Dogman is like the best kind of trash talker because he does it in a way where like no one is like, it's so obvious that he's trash talking that no one would be hurt by it.
But no one knows how to respond, I think, yet.
But no one knows how to respond yet because no one is as spicy as Dogman in English, at least. I think if Super and Dogman got on stage together and they sort of went at it, I would pay to see that. But Dogman is like the hype man of his team. And the fact that he will just take his headset off and shout things to the audience is fucking incredible, frankly speaking. Like,
I'm debating...
It's something that the league was sorely missing.
I'm debating, like, deciding what day I'm going to go see Owl, because the stadium's a couple minutes from my house. And I'm debating if I'm just going to make sure that Atlanta's playing the day that I'm going.
Yeah, I think you have to.
I want to see it in person. I want to hear Dogman, like, trash talk with my own ears, my own human ears.
Dogman trash talking at this point is so iconic because no one else is like gonna do it outside of like an interview where they might say like, we're gonna crush you.
Yeah, like the very mild way that they tend to.
Dogman will legit get up in the middle of a map where he's losing and go, "Cruise the feeder!"
And people will cheer because it's the best. It's the best.
And how do you not like that, right? Like, come on.
And the man has a sense of humor about his place in the league.
He's also a vegetarian.
Is he?
Yeah, he is.
Dogman,
yeah.
Dogman cares about animals. Oh, that makes sense,
Dogman
actually.
cares about animals.
Hey, okay. Yeah.
That makes sense, actually.
I love Dogman. Yeah, Dogman's a good egg.
The fact that like he's so willing to go along with the energy of a like he's a born entertainer. It's so clear.
He did that one cast one time and he did pretty well, I think.
He did pretty well. I legitimately think that like he agreed to have his hair cut into a bowl cut on stage by someone who had never cut hair before.
Yeah. And he did it.
Come on.
Because he made a bet. He made a bet. And he lost the bet, and he followed through on it. So it wasn't just some arbitrary decision. It's he showed that he could back up what he was spitting out, and he did it.
And then he got it trimmed a little later, and actually it looked good. So
and he fixed it. So
kudos, Dogman. Kudos,
Bren, who cut his hair with an actual bowl, which is the only way you got to do it.
That entire sequence was fantastic. And like the Bren versus Gesture Widowmaker battle. Oh, so good.
Overwatch League is doing these like little side things at the beginning of matches recently, and I'm here for it. I love them. I love seeing all of the like exhibition stuff, like 1v1 Doomfist battles between teammates. Like,
oh my god, it so
breaks
good.
up the monotony in the best way.
I think so, and I think that's important in a meta that is at the very least perceived to be stale. And I mean, okay, if a meta lasts for 3.5 stages, yeah, it's stale. We get it. It is good that we're sort of going to attempt to change it up. But yes, I completely agree that the breaking up the monotony is very important and very good. It's just fun. Like I love that at the end of the day, like. It is a little bit of tension relief from the high tension stakes of, you know, winning or losing your sports game. Of like, here's a fun thing where somebody who clearly has like an inflated ego for kicks, right, is gonna fight a professional player 1v1, and then he gets dumpstered because it turns out that he's also like a Grandmaster Widowmaker player, and you're like, that's good.
Hubris.
hubris. And I'll say that the talent puts on a very good show. Even if their analysis isn't always like spot on, it doesn't really need to be because they're not there to provide analysis necessarily. It's my show. But they are there to provide entertainment. And to some extent, like, they're there to break down what happens to be easier to understand to a person who doesn't have as much background in Overwatch, which I think they actually do a good job of, because you can't explain, like, all right, so this positioning does this, and this, provides this much space, et cetera, without getting a little bit too specific. So I think the sort of simplification of it is very good for the league generally. And I think that people pick up the slack anyway for more detailed analysis. Like, that's what Avast's stream is for. God knows.
Yeah, aside from giant brain memes, that's what it's for.
Oh my god, yeah, he has a smooth brain emote now.
Yep, of course he does. And I think, like, what you were talking about, the whole simplification of just understanding the mechanics of Overwatch is also tied into the fact that Overwatch is not trying to be the biggest esport among esports. It's trying, I think, to be the most widely accessible esport to people who don't even play video games, which is why it's on, like, cable television, which,
like, yeah, it's on, like, ABC now.
Yeah, to be fair,
Disney
people don't
XD.
own, like, cable, so they can't watch, like, Disney XD, where it's on a lot. But, you know, it's on ESPN. Like,
yeah, it's on ESPN. I mean, listen, the people who would be watching Overwatch League on TV are either people at bars or people who don't know what Overwatch is.
Yeah, so, like, having casters focus on simplification and just explaining how the game works so that someone at home who doesn't play video games can follow along is maybe unique to Overwatch in a way that hasn't been seen since that one show that aired in the 90s, I think, about, what was it called? It was like a video game tournament show that, like, crashed and burned, and that, like, kind of popped.
I've never heard of this.
I will send it to you later, but it's basically, if you look it up, it was a video game tournament where they played CS Source, which was also an issue because
wild
CS Source, but CS Source and, like, car racing, a bunch of other games, and it would be kind of like Overwatch League where it would be on TV, but after that popped, the whole esports, like, scene bubble kind of, you know, got deflated, and, you know, esports had to build itself up back from that TV point back to where it is now, where Overwatch is on TV again, which is the first thing to be on TV that isn't just, you know, a one-off event.
Right. And mind you, like, this is not a new thing in Korea. People have been broadcasting StarCraft tournaments on television since forever.
Yeah,
which, by the
Korea
way,
is more advanced in this manner.
Which, by the way, might be why most of the players come from there. It's almost like they have infrastructure and exposure.
And it's not nearly as taboo, I guess, even for, like, a super kind of conservative country in the way of careers, like Korea might be. Like,
yeah.
Like, there's
Korea is
examples
conservative in the way that any neoliberal country is conservative.
Yeah, but, like, there's examples of, like, people being successful playing esports more so than just Ninja is on Good Morning America and my mom's asking me what Fortnite is. Like, there's more than just that, you know?
No, yeah, like, the exposure there and the acceptance of it is much different. Obviously, like, I think there's still a little bit of pushback, but it's in the same way that one would push back if you were like, I'm going to become a professional football player. You'd be like, well, okay, maybe you should think about your education. You know, it's very, very similar, where a lot of these kids are, you know, foregoing the possibility of a college education in their sort of, like, younger years to play video games professionally. And, like, I think that's I think that's a scary thing for any parent to hear, to say, like, well, I'm not going to do the traditional path of going and getting educated at a big institution and using that degree to get a job, right? And it's very risky. You know, it's not easy. God knows anybody who tries a sport knows that.
I think that structure maybe changing sometime soon, because the TESPA exists, which is the like collegiate video game league, and they're Harrisburg University, you know, they've got themselves an Overwatch League team, and there are Overwatch League and, you know, video game scholarships out there that are starting to become more and more commonplace, which is another sign of Overwatch League edging itself closer to the traditional sports league, which is what I think really differentiates it from stuff like League or Dota, where it's mostly majors and it's very self-contained.
I totally agree. I think that the Overwatch League occupies kind of an adjacent space where it's so much closer to normal sports, and they're doing a lot more to support their players in every aspect of their lives, including education, which I hope that comes to fruition, right? Because
somebody give Super a college degree, please.
Somebody,
please.
I want to, 1, see what Super majors in, 2, if he graduates, and 3, what he'll do with it afterwards. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Super to me is like the pinnacle of what I imagine a gamer is. Like, if you said the word gamer and then you like sort of pushed aside the like overt sexism and racism, probably. I don't know. Don't open your mouth, Super. That's what I would imagine Super is. Like, somebody put it best, where Super is like kind of obnoxious, but in the way that he has been forged in the fires of competitive gaming.
Yeah.
It's an apt way to put it.
He's parts of Super exist only because he is a gamer, and yes, I think that itself speaks to like how big like games and competitiveness can be mixed together, and how influential it is now versus like, you know, back then where it was just kind of a hobby you did.
To be fair, Super has been playing sort of high level video games since TF2, so
yeah. And then there's people like Dante who came in from Minecraft, so. You know,
I love Dante so much.
There's all kinds of hashtag, you know, gamer origin stories, and some people are competitive prodigies like Super, and then some people are Minecraft YouTubers like Dante, and they're at the same place. They're at the same. They're on the same stage. They were on the same team for a long time.
Minecraft boy just beat Prodigy.
Yeah, Minecraft boy.
Child prodigy.
You know, Minecraft is a viable esport.
Listen, in the sort of break between stages in season 1, the NYXL players just did nothing but play Minecraft. I watched a lot of SBB streaming Minecraft with like Pine and Libero. It was really funny.
SBB plays Minecraft with his wife, I think, and it's the cutest thing ever.
So SBB or SabioB is so good, and I think also one of my favorite players for sure.
So wholesome.
He's so wholesome. He loves his wife. He just loves his wife so much.
Like, if you could make a list of like personality traits, one would be good wholesome guy, good at memes,
good at Tracer,
loves his wife. Those are the 3 things. Yeah. Like he would carry around a picture of his wife while she was still in Korea, and then every time they would play, he would put it on his keyboard, and then he would turn it around so we could face the audience and the cameras, so the cameras could see his wife anytime they looked at him or like showed his face on the game screen.
I love it so much.
He just loves his wife so much, and you know, what is it? It's his wife power that, like, you know, married man meta. That's what they called it.
Married man meta. Yeah.
Married man
and
meta.
Then he has a dog, BB.
Oh, BB. Sweet pup. I love all the dogs in Overwatch League. And all the cats. Especially Taimu's cat.
Taimu's cats? What are they called again?
Oliver and Shitass.
That's what I thought.
They were actually Effects cats, but yeah, everyone knows what happened to Effect. Or they don't, and it's not relevant, but Effect left Taimu's cats. And now they're Taimu's cats. And they're named Oliver and Shitass. And I hear Oliver's the mean one, so.
Listen, it's an aspiration. That's what that name is. It's not necessarily prescriptive.
Yeah, all of them just have, when they show like bits of personality like that, and you get to know them, it's like yeah, they're just some kids playing video games, but they're also people that are much closer to us than maybe traditional sports people ever would be. even if they have the same kind of tools, because a lot of them will stream every day and you get to know them on like a daily basis or like a nightly basis after they're done with their games or if they're free from scrims. And it just feels different to be able to get to know the people on the stage maybe more than normal.
I mean, I think that has a lot to do with the space that we exist in, you know, the kind of like, it's very digital, very like transparent.
Yeah, you know, we live in a society, huh?
We live in a society.
True. We live in a society.
Do you want to talk more about society, poli-sci major?
Ugh, please.
Okay,
I've been listening to the politics debates for
boy, I bet that's a time and a half.
Yeah. Tasty.
But I agree that there is something more personable about Overwatch League players. And I think part of it is the fact that, you know, they play video games, so even though they're obviously very good at the game, and that's not something a normal person can do, they don't look like sports people, right? They're not super tall, they're not super buff, except for Mickey.
Tell that to Baby Bae.
Okay, but Baby is a different breed. Baby Bae was once described to me as the whitest boy in Overwatch League, and I was like, I forgot that Baby Bae was in this league, and you're right, he's the whitest boy in Overwatch League, and my like ranking of super number 1 had to drop one point.
I always remember that one story of Baby Bae, who lives with his teammates in a team house, brought a girl to one of the team parties who knows nothing about Overwatch and esports, or apparently even that he played professional video games, and she like told him like Andre, all of your like roommates are kind of nerdy, and like what's wrong with them? And he's like,
okay, yeah. No, for sure. Like, 100%, I agree with you that Baby Bae is a different breed. Like,
I love Baby Bae.
I love Baby Bae too, because he's
so like nice too.
He's like actually just really wholesome. In really addition to being not like as nerdy as one would expect an esports player to be, and he's like starting lineup now, isn't he, in Atlanta Reign?
I haven't kept up with them, but I would not doubt it. Maybe Zarya got better. That could be it.
It looked a lot better.
I heard I saw him working on it, so hopefully. Okay. But Hitscan meta is coming back, so.
Oh, that's true. Hitscan meta is gonna be gross. I think he could play a mean Hanzo.
I remember him for his soldier mostly. His soldier and his
There
widow.
Are a lot of soldier widow. Part of it is also because they're so young and then they're so forward facing. Like they're just kids, dude, and like. You can see that, and I think that makes them... Okay, and I think this is a feeling that certain people will relate to, but certain people will not. Where, when you see these people play Overwatch, you're like, whoa, this is so good at the game, so good at the video game, and they're like, you know, you're cool sports people. But then afterwards, and when you see them interact in any capacity whatsoever, you're like, oh, these are my children. These are my sons.
You get really attached, yeah.
Yeah, but like in a sort of like parental way, where you kind of want to see them grow up strong and healthy. It's really weird, but it happens.
Because you are kind of seeing them grow up, you know?
I mean, yeah, you're seeing them in the formative years of their life at the pinnacle of a video game. So,
yeah, I think of like Geguri, and I remember before Overwatch League started and people would interview her about being like one of the only professional like women in Overwatch contenders from any region, she would say like, oh, I don't want to be known as like a female gamer, and I don't want people to look up to me as that. I don't want to be a role model for that. I just want to play this video game. But now when they ask her these kinds of questions, she's proud to be, you know.
Yeah.
It's character. I'm so proud of her. And I love her.
That's like exactly what I love, right? Where you see these kids and they're like actually growing up before your very eyes, which is kind of a weird surrogate parental thing because I would never want to have kids, but it's kind of nice to see like people growing into adults. Like
it's like being a godparent.
Oh God, you're right. You get to deal with like all the nice things, whereas all the rough things the parents have to deal with. But yeah, I like Geguri specifically is one of the like people I would hold up as like someone who grew and like matured so much over the course of being in the Overwatch League, where like when she started, she was just like, well, I just want to play the game, like I don't want to be differentiated from other people. But now like she kind of sees the value in it, and she sees like, well, I would want, if I was like a person, like a small child, to see someone like me in like the top level competition. And that growth is like frankly incredible and not easy as the only female player in a huge league full of just dudes. Right? Just lots of dudes.
And in a league where some of the dudes that she's playing against were also some of her biggest detractors and people who, maybe were not directly the people who bet their careers on her cheating, which was a whole scandal in itself.
But
adjacent to them and were teammates and did not object to them saying those kind of things.
Yeah, I agree. And another person I'm very proud of growing up is one of my orange boys, Sinatra.
Oh.
Because Sinatra is let's say that he was a gamer known for being a gamer, possibly quite toxic. And the kind of person who would
Mr.
150K who would tactically crouch on people once he killed them. And seeing him go from season 1, where he just turns 18, he's in the league, and it's Tracer meta, so everyone's fucking playing Tracer, and having that be his only thing, basically, and he's not as good at it as other people, basically, and seeing that, where he's like kind of playing by himself and getting picked off a lot, to where he is now, where he's like completely a team player, and to some extent, it almost feels like he is like, because I think he is the most veteran player on that roster right now of the starting 6.
Maybe Nevix has been in the scene.
Yeah, but Nevix doesn't play.
Oh, well,
Anyway,
it's on that team.
Nevix is a very good player, though. I completely agree. But I think Sinatra fills this kind of like older brother role, and
just weird to say. It's really
which is weird to say about somebody who was like a year ago teabagging people. I mean, tactically crouching. But hearing him in the Vancouver Titans game, the first stage playoff, say, "I'm so proud of you guys," like that legitimately had me cheering up. I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, whoa,
he got you.
Like I am emotionally compromised by this. So yeah, I'm much more invested in this sort of sport than I thought I would be. That's for sure.
That's how they get you, man.
That's how they got you.
They get you with the storylines and it's not all flashy like plays and the technical aspects of it. It's a lot of the people. It's the people that make moments. The sport.
Yeah.
And like
right.
You just gets you in the tendies. You get tender.
In other words, fuck off, Monte Cristo.
Fuck off, Monty. Overwatch League is an anime.
Overwatch League is an anime, and you can't tell me otherwise. And nobody cares about just the most mechanically talented team. Like, literally nobody. I'm sure maybe just you, actually.
Yeah, Monty has nothing to say as someone who took the time out of his day to wear 3 shirts on top of each other just to rip them for a debate at Overwatch League World Cup.
Okay, but that was funny.
That was really good.
That was a very good,
really
good play. Like, you gotta hand it to him. Like, as much as I hate to say it, but he does have an eye for the dramatic, and he knows when to play it.
And he's a necessary part of the sport, because everybody needs...
I would say he's a necessary evil. Everyone needs a villain. Like, everyone needs an evil magistrate a little bit.
That's Monty.
And that's Monte Cristo. Monty is like the evil magistrate, and then Bren is like your idiot best friend. Bren is the Kuwabara of Overwatch League.
Oh no, he is. He's just big, buff, and dumb.
He's just like, I'm the best, yeah. But he also always roots for the underdog, which is like kind of nice. He stands up for the little people,
even if he's wrong.
Even if he's always wrong.
He's always wrong. He's very wrong.
But then he plays it up so well too. So I don't begrave him for it. Anyway, let's talk very, very, very briefly about 222 roll log. How do you feel about it? go. Because
yes, thank you.
Wait, hang on. For some background.
Oh, right.
Currently, the dominant meta in Overwatch League has been what was originally conceived of as a cheese comp, which is just like a not serious composition, in which you pick 3 tanks and 3 supports and 0 damage characters. The composition is called GOATS, named after the team that conceived of and used the composition. And that's the meta, where that's the only thing people play, almost, sort of. But yeah, 3 tanks, 3 supports, usually no DPS players, and the team that originally conceived of it, GOATS, stands for Greatest of All Time, of course, used it to win more games that they had any right to. And now they hate the comp.
Yeah, I think everybody hates that comp. Like, there are people who are Stockholm syndromed into saying, oh, it's not that bad, but it arguably drove down the entertainment value and entertainment watch value of Overwatch League and of Overwatch as a game.
Across the board, it has gone down. I will say that GOAT's composition peaked in the Stage 2 finals for more reasons than just the fact that the Shock won, but also just because it was a really good game. But I think we're kind of done with it. Like, I think we've seen what it has to offer, and we can move on to compositions that can, utilize the same things that GOAT's comp introduced, which is cooldown cycling and good positioning and ultimate usage with more interesting heroes.
Give me some Widow headshot compilations, please. I miss Pine. That's all.
I just want to see Pine play.
Yeah,
Pine is in my list of top 10 players for no reason other than the fact that he is Pine.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with 222 lock, which is that you have to have 2 DPS players, 2 tank players, and 2 healers.
Yes, and it's basically confirmed for Stage 4. According to multiple sources, and also Fissure, because he's retiring.
And he just doesn't give a shit. He continues to be a villain even in his retirement. Just listen, I'm not with this dumb league anymore. 222 is locked. It's
confirmed.
Confirmed. You're welcome. Now I'm gonna never play Overwatch ever again. Peace.
Yep. Peace.
Yeah. I, as someone who watches Overwatch League more than I play Overwatch nowadays, might come back to Overwatch to play it myself instead of just watching it on TV or on Twitch. Because as someone who has tried to not be selfish in playing this game, just wants a game where I can play what I want without having to flex or acquiesce to DPS players, which, was a lot of the not fun parts of being an Overwatch player is not being able to play what you want.
Let's just say that learning to play main tank was not intentional.
Yeah. I'm happy with 222 Rolock. It'll force GOATs to not be a thing that is played in Overwatch League, which I'm happy with, honestly. And B, maybe we'll get a lot of the older metas back, and maybe get some new metas, Clockwork, back into the rotation.
No Clockwork.
Yes, Clockwork. I want to see Mei in professional play, please.
No.
We deserve this.
While I agree with you that I want to see Mei and that Clockwork is a composition, There are a few things more boring than watching 3 tanks and 3 supports slam into each other for 12 minutes until one person dies and then suddenly everyone else runs away. And I think the thing that is more boring than that might just be 2 people with shields staring at each other, plinking away for 8 years. But who knows?
But Torb.
Obviously Torb. And by the way, if Torb is becoming meta, somebody needs to pick up Mangachu immediately. Do you know what I mean?
Mangachu has been languishing first in XL2, which is the NYXL Contenders team, and then where is he now?
Mayhem Academy.
He's in Mayhem Academy.
And then I think he got released from Mayhem Academy.
Yeah, because they did a lot of turnover, and where's Mangachu? Somebody find him.
Somebody find Mangachu.
It's his
Somebody
time
pick up
to shine.
Mangachu. It's his time.
I just don't want it to be Doomfist Sombra meta, that's all. I think that's it.
I don't want Sombra to ever be meta, but she's becoming increasingly meta.
Yeah, because
even in GOATs.
As it stands right now, Sombra is very strong against GOATs, and the reason why she's very strong is because it's purposeful, because no one else is. So once Goats will be an unviable option and like not allowed to play, she's just gonna be extremely strong, I think, which may or may not be a good thing. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think that no matter what you think about composition locking or role locking or whatever, like, one, there is, I think, no amount of balance changing that you can do to the game anymore without breaking the whole game and making certain heroes just completely worthless, which, by the way, Reinhardt and Zarya are almost completely worthless outside of the Goats composition.
Oh, yeah, maybe we can get, like, Grav Dragon back in fashion.
No. Grav Dragon was actually worse than Goats. Sombra meta, I feel like Sombra Goats is on the same level as Grav Dragon, where it just feels like, well, whoever has EMP and does it better wins, I guess.
Yeah, that's...
Vancouver Titan! By the way, Shaxx is a fucking monster on Sombra. Jesus Christ.
I was watching an interview where they told him to learn Sombra like a few weeks ago.
How do you pick up Sombra and then suddenly you're going toe-to-toe with Ding, the, like, arguably best Sombra in the league? Christ almighty.
Yeah, it's some people are just better at some heroes and picking them up than others.
I guess, I suppose so. Anyway, I think it's good for the game. Honestly, like, people say, well, it's restrictive. Like, you know, we can't have the weirder comps. And yeah, to some extent, you're right. And, like, but it does make it easier to balance. And also, you know, people said this exact same thing about one hero per team. And look where we are now. So,
yeah, as the Overwatch cast grows, I think maybe the step after this might be to implement hero bans, which I think would be a welcome thing.
I think
hero bans
should have been in a season ago.
There's not an. I don't think so, because there's not enough heroes yet to like facilitate having a hero ban. Because in games like Dota, there's like a bajillion heroes and there's a lot of clones. So even if your particular hero, like, can you imagine being a D.Va player when D.Va was a necessary thing and you're a D.Va one trick and they banned D.Va? It's not possible at the moment.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think that at the very least, what Goats Comp has done is force an amount of flexibility on players. Because if nothing else, you almost cannot be a one trick unless you
happen to already be a one trick for the specific thing.
Right. Unless you happen to be a D.Va one trick, and even that is becoming a D.Va Sombra flex. So,
which is a weird combination.
Which is very weird. I agree, but you know, I think that it's good. Okay, and this is important too. Job security. Fucking job security. These kids are frightened for their fucking lives. Give them some goddamn job security. I don't care if it makes the league stale. Just give them, like, if I'm gonna watch Goats meta for a whole year, I might as well watch 222 Lock, where, like, the children aren't afraid that they're gonna lose their fucking jobs. You know what I mean? Okay.
Is How's Coolman feeding his family of 4? Like, he hasn't...
I don't know, man!
Where is he?
How's he feeding his tax returns? His tax reports, you know? The government wants some of that moolah.
Yeah, like, I'm happy for 222 Rollock, and if not hero bans in the future when they have a big enough roster, then I think even map bans currently, after they've, warmed up to 222 and figured out what they want, would be a good idea.
I mean, you notice that every map they release is just somehow a little worse than the last one.
Havana's not fun.
They released Paris, which is arguably the least fun 2CP map because it's basically Hanamura with high ground. And then they released Havana, which is basically Dorado with high ground.
Maybe the trick here is to stop doing that.
These maps are very vertical, and they favor very vertical heroes. That's why you get mobile heroes like Dive composition being so strong in Season 1. And the opposite is true in Season 2 because Goat's composition stays on the point. And so the natural result of it is that you don't actually have to win the fight. You just have to outlast the enemy team because you're already on the point. And okay, it's a whole thing. There's a whole other discussion for Overwatch generally. Anyway, I think that's all we can talk about now because otherwise this podcast is going to be 4 fucking hours long.
Uh-huh.
So thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So, tell us what you're up to this week. Well, okay, I know what you're up to. Probably at the moment that this podcast is being released, because you talked about it earlier, but where can we find you on the internet and otherwise, I suppose?
Yeah, well, my Twitter is at halfgallon, but without any of the vowels. So it's at HLFGLN. I post art there sometimes, but I'm also on Instagram at halfgallon, and that's with all the vowels, so it's just the words halfgallon.
Good God.
Yeah, I'll get branding. And, yeah, I'll be there. Existing. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Well, as always, you can find me on all the places at Literal Soup, because I have brand uniformity. If I'm on a place, it's probably there. Our opening is by Scott Toon Network, and our ending is by Takuma Okada. And also, you should check out our podcast Twitter at Absolute Cast on Twitter. And guess what?
What?
We got a Patreon now.
Oh.
So we have a Patreon now, and you can come give us money so that we can make the podcast good without dying, because capitalism is the fucking worst. At patreon.com/atcast. If you join, well, you can, get rewards and stuff. You can come to our Discord server and talk to us. You can watch our bonus videos, of which a new one will be coming at some point, because we have some bonus content there that, I don't know, normal people don't get to see. If you give us money, well, you're special.
Yeah,
you get to watch it.
Money can be exchanged for goods and services, and that's one of the goods and services you can get.
Did you know that we live in a society?
You know we live in a society?
Yeah. If you pay $5 or more, you can access our bonus content vault forever. By the way, that link does not go away. You don't have to do that forever. Like you can just downgrade your tier or whatever. You don't have to tell us. It's fine.
Don't tell them that.
Well, I'm just being honest.
No, but fine.
I'm just being honest. Okay. And I think we have one person who donates at $10 a month. So thank you, Penguin, for donating.
Nice.
Because you're supporting the show, and that's really nice. Thanks to everyone else for listening, because we cannot do this unless people are listening. It would be really, really sad if we did. So, as always, we appreciate your support. And goodbye.
Bye.
We have an ending thing, but I don't remember it, and Renu's not here, so it doesn't matter, because she didn't do it either.
There you go. Consistency.
All right.
Bye.
Sayonara. また明日ね。